Please rise for pledge.
And please rise for the pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. We have our invocation, Pastor Saladon.
Our invocation, Saladon.
Pastor Saladon, would you like us to sit or stand?
Thank you, Pastor Daniel. Supervisor Daniel. Supervisor Walter, council persons, members of the audience, bow your heads. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this great town. We thank you for the wonderful leadership you've placed over us with our supervisor, our council people. Father, we thank you, Lord God, that you bless them. You bless our police force. We ask that you bless this meeting. We ask that Riverhead would prosper, that our leaders would have wisdom, that they'd have unity, and that they'd have great strength from you. And we put this meeting in your hands, and we ask that it would be as it should. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, I just
Well,
thank
Mr.
you,
Supervisor,
Pastor.
before we get to
You can
carry
ask
it on
for
with
a
the
raise too.
with the business of what?
Go ahead.
Raise? I'll take raise. No, I think I know tomorrow is a very important day for you, I believe.
Yes.
And today is actually my daughter's birthday, but tomorrow is the supervisor's birthday. So I think we have a little surprise for you there, Supervisor.
I'm actually nervous.
I would be.
Probably rightly so.
I would
Is
be.
it hot in here?
There is this Verna Campbell. Would like to
Oh.
give you a rendition.
Now, what should I use? Should I use this or the other?
Wait, I don't.
Whichever works.
Okay, without accompaniment. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear supervisor. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can I go give Miss Campbell a hug?
Cable guy didn't have the camera on her. She's not
Well,
going
thank you very much. Cake for everybody.
Oh, you're supposed to wait a minute because it was going to blow up.
The cable guy doesn't know anything.
You don't have cake.
No way.
Everybody in the square box.
Oh, you want another song?
Verna,
Okay.
you should come up here so the camera can get you, because the camera's been facing this way the whole time. You should come up here.
Or just move the camera.
Yes. He's not doing it.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Where would you like me?
Right there.
Right there.
Seated on the
Wonderful.
table? Sure.
No. Right there's good.
Face the camera.
Don't face me, face the camera.
Okay.
Can we just turn the camera to Verna? Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, he was.
You got a pitch pipe, James?
Oh, I got a pipe. Not a pipe.
I'm gonna get the right thing.
Which key is it? Key of C? Can you shut that?
And don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky, and the
Miss Campbell, that is the best birthday present I've received in a long time. You sing like an angel. Thank you.
Thank you.
How was that? Was that good?
Well, it's a pleasure, Supervisor, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Verna Campbell.
I didn't realize that
Okay, so can you ask Councilman Dunleavy to do that?
Approval of minutes of town board meeting of September 17th, 2013.
So moved. And seconded?
Now you say moved and seconded, vote please.
Move, seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The minutes are approved.
Okay, so our guest today is Supervisor Daniel, and he's a fifth grader from Pulaski Street School in Riverhead. And Daniel, how did you win this job of supervisor? What did you do to win this job?
I read books. Well, you had to read books and write an essay, and then you get a ticket, and then you get they pick me out of the raffle, and you get to be supervisor of the day.
And he read books about this thick, he said.
It was the luck of the draw.
Yes. Kind of the way it works for us too. So he's done a lot of things, although we didn't get to the sewage treatment plant, but we did a lot of things. What was the most exciting thing today?
The police department.
The police department. And I thought for sure he drove a front end loader and dumped some dirt. I thought for sure that was.
And that one too.
And that one too. Well, I welcome you, and we'll get on with the meeting. Can you ask Town Clerk Ms. Wilhelm to read the correspondence?
The
Correspondence.
correspondence.
Okay. Oh, now I'm going to struggle. A letter from Christoph Canis requesting the town to fix the grading and drainage in the roadway in front of their driveway. Letter from Jack Orban expressing his views on the proposed rental dwelling units, and that was a public hearing of September 17th. Under CAC correspondence, there were 3 CAC recommendations to the town board. Haberman/Lynn, Suffolk County Tax Map 113-2-62. John Gallagher, Suffolk County Tax Map 87-1-39. Peter Gale, Suffolk County Tax Map 8-1-11. Also from John and Kirsten Kenny, a letter requesting appeal of CAC decision, and that was CAC resolution of 2013-29. Under reports, Sewer District submitted their discharge monitoring report for August 2013. The fire district budgets, all the 5 districts, Jamesport, Manaville, Riverhead, and Wading River 5 districts, all submitted the proposed budgets announcing their public hearings. And as town clerk, I'm submitting the 2014 tentative budget to the town board. Applications pending town board approval. Riverhead Alternatives 5K run obstacle course, EPCAL property June 1st and September 14th, 2014. Abate of New York, Long Island chapter, annual motorcycle run, Riverhead to Hampton Bays, November 3rd. Riverhead Council of Churches crop walk through town of Riverhead, October 20th, 2013. And that's it.
All right, ask if there's any other presentations or reports.
Is there more presentations or reports?
Yes, there are. I actually have a proclamation that I'd like to give to someone, so we all have to go down in front
To the
of the
front
podium.
to give the
Yeah.
proclamation out. Oh, go. All right, we need a.
Lost all that weight.
I usually just bring it.
Stand next to Supervisor, there you go. All right? Yeah.
And this proclamation is from the Office of the Supervisor of the Town of Riverhead and all of the town board, and it's a certificate of award from the residents of the town of Riverhead presented to Daniel from Pulaski Street School. in acknowledgement of your participation and completion of the 2013 summer reading program at the Riverhead Free Library and for your service to the town of Riverhead as supervisor for the day. And it's dated this first day of October in the year 2013, so you'll always remember when you were supervisor, right?
All right, everybody. Smile so we get some pictures. All right.
Okay,
All right.
back up. You want me to give that to your mother?
Yeah.
Okay. Say it.
Okay.
And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everybody, I'm sure you all know about the Riverhead Town Country Fair on October 13th.
What's that?
It's the, Riverhead Country Fair is a big fair that's our 38th year actually this year, along the Peconic Riverfront parking lot. Vendors and entertainment, rides, expo by the Chamber of Commerce along Main Street. It's a great day to come out and join the community. It starts at 10 o'clock on the 13th, which is a Sunday.
So Councilman Gabrielson, I just want to point out, did you notice how,
makes
not
check
only
marks.
did he check it, did you notice how he checked it?
Yes, I just did. Look at
You
him.
can be a good leader someday. Just follow my steps.
Checks it exactly like Councilman Gabrielson.
Exactly.
To the left.
Okay, so, ask if there's any other committee reports.
Is there any other
Committee reports?
committee reports?
No?
I think we
Okay.
want to just mention on the BOA and the survey that's online. If you want to go to the Town of Riverhead website, the town is conducting a survey on how to revitalize from Tanger Outlet all the way through downtown to east end of downtown. So there's a survey online. You can get the survey address off the website, and if everybody would go on and take the survey, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we're going to call public hearings.
Public hearings?
The first hearing was supposed to start at what time? Yes, so say that. The first hearing is supposed to start at 2:10.
The first hearing is supposed to start at 2:10.
What time is it now? Up there. 2:15.
2:15.
And so you're going to open up this first hearing.
I'm gonna,
Open up the first hearing. You're going to, I'll read it. You just say, I will open up the first hearing.
I will open up the first hearing.
And that's a consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 108 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Zoning Parking Schedule, Section 108, Attachment 1.2. Let's see what that is. Oh, this is our parking schedule. Is Rick? Rick, do you want to say a word or two about this?
Yeah, this amendment is in attendant to the public hearings that are coming up next with regard to transitional areas. When we were writing that, we noticed that, before that, we noticed that the Riverhead parking schedule is somewhat archaic. It came out of the 1973 master plan, which is now 40 years old. So the thought is to change the required parking for office buildings, to reduce the parking required. Presently, it's one stall per 150 square feet of floor area, and the proposal is to make that 1 per 200. And the second change is for retail stores and shops. Presently, the requirement is 1 per 200 square feet of floor area, and the proposal is 1 per 250 square feet.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rick.
If I can add too, I think that from an anecdotal standpoint, we've noticed that from town-wide, as Rick's pointed out, because our parking schedule is somewhat anecdotal, the parking that we've required for both retail and office space is a great deal more than what is generally and usually necessary in order to achieve parking.
Really, I don't
Also-
think any of us have noticed that.
Also, I think that when we were doing the update for the Wading River study, our consultant brought to our attention the fact that our parking schedule was in need of some bumping up or in this case, reduction, so that there'd be less parking per square foot, and that was also brought to our attention as a result of that. So I just wanted to add those comments.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? All right, not seeing anybody, we'll close the public comment portion and leave it open for written comment until October 11th at 4:30 in the Riverhead Town Clerk's office. All right, Supervisor? We're going to start our second hearing, which starts at 2:15, so
We're gonna start our second hearing at 2:15.
and it is now 2:17. So we're going to open up the second hearing, which is a consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 108 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Zoning and the zoning use districts. And this has to do with, for several zoning use districts, and this has to do with transition zones. And if you want to introduce Mr. Murphy, he's going to speak about this.
Who was it?
Just ask Mr. Murphy to come up. Murphy.
He's here.
Mr. Murphy, come on.
Thank you, sir.
I guess my first question, procedurally, are we doing all the hearings together for all the different zones?
They're opened all up. Yes, it's one public hearing for all the zones.
Perfect. Good afternoon, Mr. Supervisor, member of the Town Board, Jefferson Murphy for the record. We're here today to consider a proposed law that would be a transition buffer law that would help buffer large-scale commercial development from adjacent residential zones and residential uses. This came to light as a result of a number of commercial development that you see along Route 58 corridor, namely the Stop and Shop, the Saberland development, and the Costco development are some of the more notable ones. We've had issues with regard to noise, dust, quality of life, and as the supervisor mentioned at a prior hearing, we couldn't have saved at least one tree. That was a question. So I remember that. If you read Dr. Seuss, there's Lorax. We need a Lorax.
Did
With
you
the
read
proposed
Dr.
law,
Seuss? Go ahead. Sorry.
the supervisor should read that story by Dr. Seuss. It's a very good story. I read it to my son numerous times. With the proposed law, a lot of these issues could have been abated. 50-foot transition buffer yard would require that 50 feet of non-disturbance be required for new site plan development next to residential zones and residential uses. For smaller development, and we've heard this concern raised on a prior occasion, that 50 feet would be too much for small lots. And the proposed law says that if you're proposing buildings less than 5,000 square feet, your buffer requirement would only be 25 feet. Staff did an analysis to find out how many of these small lots actually exist in the town that would be subjected to the law. And the map that you see before you, if you see all the squiggly lines on it, those are the lines between residential zones and uses and commercial development. So those are your lines of demarcation between where commercial development and industrial development can go. They're next to residential development that would be subjected to this law. We did a lot-by-lot analysis to find out how many lots that would be subjected to this law. There are lot sizes that are less than 3 acres in size. There are 5 in the whole town that would be subjected to this. One is constrained by wetlands, and anybody would like to see these maps, I have actually lot-by-lot aerials that I cannot show you on a board that's small. One is constrained by wetlands, and therefore would be more restrictive than the law before you. One lot, I've been working with a well-known local architect who used to be an employee of this town, so I won't name him by name. He actually could get it to work with a 25-foot buffer. He still needs buffer, though, from the front yard, so he would need a variance. So that leaves 3 remaining. One lot is proposed right next to an RA 40 zoning district, which is kind of ironic because the rear yard setback for those 10,000 square foot lots is 60 feet. The rear yard setback in the business center zoning district is only 25 feet, so you could actually build a 2-story building 25 feet from the people's backyards. So if they wanted to build building bigger than 5,000 square feet, it would be 50 feet. If he builds the building less than 5,000 square feet, it would be only 25 feet. That does not preclude the builder or from building multiple 5,000 square foot buildings. So he could get more than a 5,000 square foot development of the property, you just have to do it in smaller, more residential scale development. The aerials, below the map of the town, if you take a look at the photographs, that is Oliver Street. I'm gonna just move away from you.
There was a handheld mic somewhere.
I moved it. Oliver Street is behind BJ's and Kmart. This is the Kmart building right here, where John's standing. And if you see, these are the existing trees that they left.
I can't see it from way back there.
These photos are taken from Oliver Street. That is 50 feet. They left that undisturbed. On the development side, you can see this line right here. That's a 6-foot stockade fence. The height of the Walmart building is right here. So you can see how effective a 50-foot buffer is in that area.
And how many feet? That is 50 feet?
That's 50 feet.
Okay, and that was on the original site plan?
Staff looked at coming up with an alternative law other than what you see before you, trying to address the small lot consideration. But after looking at all other laws in other towns and then seeing that there are only really about 3 lots that would be subjected to this law, to spend the additional time and effort would really not result in substantial benefit in terms of coming up with anything that much more better than what you see before you today. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't think I have any. Let's open it up to the public then.
Yeah, I just have one question for
Okay.
Jeff, and I'm thinking about what Councilwoman Giglia was talking about. What about a percentage of the size lots, the smaller lots, instead of having 25 or 50? How about a percentage of their lot size?
That would affect maybe 3 of the lots in the town that would be subjected to this law. And if they build the lots, the building's 5,000 square feet or less, then they'd only have to build 25-foot buffer, or leave a 25-foot buffer next to the residential zone. So to try to come up with a gradation of that, we're talking, if we actually did a gradation law, it'd be, somewhere between 25 and 30 feet or something like that. So we're not yielding a lot of benefit for coming up with a more complex law.
Thank you.
Does anybody else on the board? All right, well, does anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Yes, Mr. Cuddy?
Can't we segregate those 3 lots out?
Charles Cuddy. I think the law is admirable in its intent, but I think it's an overkill. What I don't understand is that you're trying now to do something that maybe should have been done earlier, but it's not going to affect the offenders so far. The people that you just named are already in development, and so it's not going to stop them at all.
Actually, it does correct the Costco problem.
It may, but it may not.
Well, they don't have approval for anything.
But what I'm saying to you is the intent of this law, I think, comes from things that have already occurred. And I think that when you really take a look at 50 feet, 50 feet is an extraordinary amount. It's basically the size of this line right here all the way to the end of the room. You're talking about some lots that are very small, and Mr. Murphy has said that there are only a few lots. But if you have a lot that's 150 feet, and you take off 50 feet, and now you're supposed to landscape all of the area around, you're supposed to landscape even in the parking area, you really get down to some very, very small use of your lot. And people have relied upon that. The zoning has been in effect for years, and people that held these lots have relied upon that zoning. And you're going to change it. And the change that you're going to make is a dramatic change. 50 feet is not casual. I would say to you, if you have to do this, if you really think it's necessary, even after the horse has left the barn, so to speak, then try 25 feet, or try, as Mr. Dunleavy has just said, to do a percentage, but not to do 50 feet. 50 feet is something that's going to hurt a number of people, and I don't think it's going to help those residents that we're talking about. I think if you have a 25-foot buffer, serious buffer, landscaped, tall trees, you're going to do just as well as 50 feet, and 50 feet is just too much. And I really ask you to take a second look at this. And thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Sid Bale, President of the Wading River Civic Association, and I'm here to speak about amending local law, Chapter 108 zoning for all 5 districts that were outlined. We support these changes. We feel that it would further the town's effort to maintain the scenic and rural quality, which is so valuable for the town now and for the future. We would provide guidance for the planning board in cases regarding building or buildings adjoining residential districts and use. And at the same time, it provides the planning board with some reasonable options / flexibility to assure orderly, compatible relationships along certain boundary lines. I urge you to adopt these changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. DeLuca.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the town board, and smaller member of the town board. You guys just keep getting younger every time I show up here. But my name is Bob DeLuca, and I serve as president of Group for the East End, and today I'm here to ask for your support in passing these proposed transition buffer amendments for each of the zones that have been proposed before you. Basically, just in brief, as I think has been articulated before, in the many years that I've been doing this, I can tell you that among community concerns, the aesthetics of an area, the visual blight that comes after development, and the loss of community character that accrues over time from excessive development of lots and excessive clearing of lots is probably one of the principal concerns that we hear on a daily basis, and it affects large projects in particular, but really no project is exempt from this. And I think what these amendments provide you with is frankly something that other towns have been doing for many, many years, and this is not something which is all that different than the town of Southampton or your neighbors in Southold or other places who realize that the protection of the character of this town, this region, is vital to its economy as well as any individual piece of property. So I think when you take a look at the overall issue here, bottom line is when you have these types of buffers and clearing restrictions in place, the community has some sense of certainty as to what basically they can expect when a project comes in. Developers have some certainty in terms of what can be expected from them, and essentially you've struck a balance to try to do the best that you can with what's left of the character in your commercial areas, particularly on these large sites where a 50-foot buffer is absolutely necessary on many of these sites. If you look at something like a Costco or something like that, you can't really screen that with a couple of shrubs or a couple of street trees. You need a lot. So I think a reasonable buffer is proposed here on these larger zoning categories. And I would ask that you pass them and think about the fact of how important it looks 5 or 10 years down the line if you start this now. Riverhead is obviously developed and becoming more developed, and any effort that you can make to restore the character and protect the character of this community, I think is well worth doing and serves the best interests of the community. Thank you.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yeah.
just quickly, I know Southampton, I understand Southampton has the 50-foot transition buffers. Do you know for certain that Southold has them?
They do. They're a little, the exact footage I don't have. They have these types of buffers on their commercial properties, and I could certainly find out the language is not exactly the same as what you're looking
That'd be interesting. Mr. Murphy, if we could just, can we get an analysis of the surrounding towns? I know you have Southampton, because you probably wrote that one, but could we look at the other codes to just get an idea of what they say as well? I think that would be interesting to add into the record. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Walter Binger. I own property in Accaborg, which is commercial. The supervisor sort of got me involved because on the televised town board meeting a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that the Hamlet Center zoning should also be looked into for this. That's why I'm here. I just want to say something about the line that we're now forming, and that line is the demarcation between commercial and non-commercial properties or residential. That line was forced by the adoption of the destination retail businesses, because what they did is they decided that adjacent land to the main road would become commercial for the whole lot. That's what created these huge 42-acre commercial lots. I bought a piece of property that called for 500 feet of commercial property, of zoning. Every zone in the town of Riverhead stopped at 500 feet from the main road. From 58, from the main road, anywhere. There are houses within this new envelope that were built within what was then commercial zoning. These people really don't have a right to say, I want my backyard to be 50 feet from a building. This town code calls for 15% in the destination retail zone to be left open and undisturbed. That wasn't done. If that problem has created a problem that we now have to look into every zone in this town, I don't know who the hell was looking at that time because they weren't looking, okay? Now, those people do have, though, a right to have privacy. They were 1,000 feet, like a half a mile away from the main road. They were nowhere near the 500-foot buffer that the town board then in existence created. That was their idea, this destination retail. It wasn't the people. The people didn't ask for this. So this destination retail zone created this problem now that it's now coming to haunt people who had property for 30 and 40 years. I've been in this town, and I've owned my property since 1982. I would feel like, who the hell is my neighbor to tell me that I need a 50-foot buffer? It takes away a substantial amount of my property, 20, 30%, before I can either consider building the buildings, which I've already taken. There has been 10 or 15 code changes in this town since I came here for commercial zoning. There was originally 5 zones. We had A, B, C, and D. All of a sudden, we have 20. There's 20 zones listed in here for commercial. And every one is different, but we're not spot zoning. But this guy has this guy can't have that, this guy on this block, the neighbor complains, so we'll give him more buffer, the neighbor doesn't complain, so we'll do this. We have horse farms in the middle of industrial areas. We had some commercial properties knocked down because the horses couldn't have babies and wouldn't make a noise next door. They shouldn't be in the industrial zone. We're zoning according to the neighbors. We're not zoning according to the right. I have rights. Other commercial property owners have rights, especially if they existed prior to the change that threw this 500 feet into the waste paper basket. If you have a house within the 500 feet, you have no right to say that you can't build commercial next door to that. You're in commercial. But because of this new interpretation by the planning board, the town board, and everything else, this line now has moved back to 150 feet from the main road. So those people within commercial, any properties within that 500 feet should be totally disallowed from this. You can't consider that the line of demarcation if they're within 500 feet, which those houses all behind those Route 58 lots are. You have properties that are adjacent to that property, which are
You can continue. I can listen to you and talk to him.
I wasn't sure. As long as you assure me you can.
Positive.
As long as you assure me you can, sure.
Absolutely.
There was a car wash. The people behind the car wash know that that's commercial behind them. The next door neighbor doesn't have to provide a buffer. Why should they have to provide a buffer because it's behind the commercial? There are existing lots that were existing before any town zoning changes. Mine is one of them. Mr. Grover has one. It's one of them. I think Sarge has one of them. Where if you take those lots were already retained at 500 feet, and now you're going to take away more. Okay. Now we have in this town we've got a whole new set of zoning. 20, like I say, 20 new codes. And I got in front of me all the buffer zones. Now, Mr. Murphy, and I don't know Mr. Murphy's expertise, I didn't get that. Is he a lawyer? Is he a zoning expert? How is he involved with the town? Okay, I assume we hired him?
He's the town planning and building director.
Planning and building director. Oh, this is the new man that came from Brookhaven? I'm sorry, apologize.
Southampton.
I apologize. I didn't know that.
Southampton.
We have setbacks that we determined through 47 years of zoning prior to today. Those setbacks were 75 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet. They're in there. They're already down there, right? Now, in the case of the destination retail, if you put a 50-foot buffer, that's a gift for that man. Because I believe it says 15%, which would be 6 acres of landscaping that he has to provide, that he didn't provide. That's already in the code. Because we didn't do something is not a reason to write a new code. To change the code is already in place, to change the code for people who've owned these properties for 30 and 40 years. I'm not looking to do anything I wasn't entitled to do. I have done nothing in this town that I was not entitled to do. I'm not asking for anything. But what I am entitled to do, I want to remain in what I paid for, what I paid my taxes for, and what I paid for my property. Now, to finish up, there was a thought that because I'm getting to the point where I have to slow myself down, which is why I didn't come to these meetings for 15 years. I used to get worked up because I own rental property, I own business property, I own farm property, I own residential property. My property had it all. That's why I bought it in 1982. I paid, I think, I'll say about 6 times what I could have bought a piece of property off the main road for in Riverhead, because it had commercial property, because I was allowed to do certain things. Now, there have been restrictions placed on the property. It was country rural zoning. Country rural zoning was added. Those areas of country rural were added. Hamlet Center, I don't even know what's in Hamlet Center. I don't know what I'm allowed in Hamlet Center anymore. What became of Hamlet Center? I started off as Business C property. They made it Business CR, restricted my property by half. They took the CR and changed it, restricted the property again by half, which would make a quarter of my original zoning properties. They've also taken since then and changed the setbacks. I think I have about 1/6 of the property value that I can use now for commercial, as I did when I bought it. I've already given. I've given too much. I don't want to give more. And the 50-foot buffer, I think I started to say it, I doubt I finished my thought, would be a boon to the destination retail, because they would have to provide, and I think I did say this, 6 acres. They would love to have 50 foot, but if you only have 150 foot of property, or 200 or 300, 400 foot of property, that's a big nut. And somebody has to figure out why you can put a building at 25 feet on one of these codes, it's in here, but you want a 50-foot buffer. You can put a building at 50 foot from these lines, but you want a 50-foot buffer. It makes absolutely no sense. Throw it out, go back, spend 10 years doing it, because they spent 10 years with the CR and they threw it out. Sid Bale was just up here before me. King Cullen, the supervisor lives in Wading River. King Cullen was built under CR zoning. That building was not allowed under CR zoning, but the people in Wading River wanted their own grocery store, so they okayed it. That's one huge building. At the time, CR zoning allowed 4 buildings, maximum 4,000 square feet, similar to what the Mrs. Murphy is proposing. Okay? None of those buildings were built under that guideline. The town let everybody go helter-skelter and do whatever the hell they wanted. Now they're complaining the people next door to King Cullen can't sell now because you're going to change their zone, or they're going to throw it out, or going to take out the commercial district. Commercial districts were established in certain parts of town. Mine was one of them in the hamlet. Okay? There was no zoning where the bowling alley is. That was residential. It existed as a car dealership under pre-existing non-conforming use. It became a bowling alley. They had less zoning than I do, right? You're talking about a light as laser lights and blinking things. That's a residential district. Now, when the town, like yourselves, was going to correct, 5 minutes is up, I understand. When the town was going to correct these little problems and push a little bit here and push a little bit there, the only zoning district in Accobock went from the end of the farm stand, which is Wells's farm stand, to the old post office, which is Church Lane. That was the only commercial district in Accobock. Somewhere along the line, somebody tweaked the CR zoning and took that and made the whole corridor all the way down the main road business. So you multiplied the business. You screwed me, you screwed small business owners like me who bought commercial property in Accobock, but you gave it to the guy who owned the bowling alley, okay? Who owns the bowling alley. He didn't have commercial district. And it's not on Route 58. And then when we allowed that building, everybody said, well, it's an extension of Route 58. Route 58 commercial zoning stops at Northfield Turnpike. East of Northfield Turnpike is our office service, right? Now we gotta uphold the laws we already have in the books, not create new ones, not create more depth, not create more jobs. Okay? Cablevision, that's supposed to be an office service zone. They got all those trucks back there. I remember when they asked for that building, they said there wouldn't be any trucks back there. Cablevision moved all their offices up to Connecticut, and all we got is trucks back there. If you go back to the hearings, you're going to find out that they said, oh no, there will be no trucks parked behind our building. It's an office building. Okay? That's an office service zone. The only reason that McDonald's is down there, because they were there before the zoning change. All right, I'm sorry. I'm taking up too much time and I apologize to everybody. Apologize to the church and everybody from the church.
No, you're very interesting. Thank you.
All right. Bingham. Does anybody else wish to be heard today? Yes, step up, please.
Hi, I didn't come here to speak on the topic that this gentleman addressed, but I came originally from the town of Brookhaven.
Can you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Antoinette Miranda Carbone. I came originally from the town of Brookhaven. I have been a resident there for over 35 years before moving to Riverhead, and I can tell you, I went through their growing pains, became very active, a civic activist in that town. Look at how they had to address the same issues before you today as you experience your own growing pains. Include them in your search for setbacks. I'm here to talk about the building department.
The public hearing is just on this zoning.
And it's on nothing else.
Nothing else but the zoning. You can speak after the resolutions and everything
All
on
right,
the
I was
building
told
department.
to come at this time, so I thought this was the time.
It is
But
the-
I understand
you
your
have to-
time is expanded. Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this public hearing? Mr. Grover.
Yes, my name is August Grover. I live in Aquabog. I apologize if I may run a little long, but the old saying, and then they came for you. And then they came for you. I'm one of the 3 people who own that lot, okay? I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I had my childhood was in welfare, when welfare was real welfare, okay? I worked real hard. I'm married to the same woman for 43 years. I sent my kids to this school. I sat in that chair that you're sitting right there because I donated 10 years of my life to this town on the IDA, okay? And I believe in rights. You notice me, most of the time, I'll be wearing a red, white, and blue shirt because this is the greatest country in the world. When you can go from welfare, work yourself up, and buy a piece of land. But this piece of land, it's in the town of Riverhead, and I have neighbors. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm a little upset because this is my life savings you're dealing with. My land is only 130 feet deep in most of the section. Now, if you take 50 feet off the front, 50 feet off the back, you leave me 30 feet.
Augie, can you talk to us,
Okay.
not the audience?
Oh, well, I'm talking to the camera?
No.
Oh, okay,
Talk
I'm
to
sorry.
us.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I don't like my profile.
Neither do I.
But evidently, if there's only 3 lots, I can see the problem. I stood here about 20 years ago when they wanted to build 80 houses across the street from me. David Saland had proposed 80 houses on 80 acres. And my neighbors said, we got to get together and go to town. We don't want to look at 80 homes. And I said, I'll come down, and I did. And I said, I'd rather look at this farm field. I love that farm field. We should buy it. Because I will defend with my last breath this man's right to build. It's zone residential. It's zone 1 acre. He's putting 1 house on an acre. You know what happened to him? He got pushed around for years and he went bankrupt. Now there's homes across the street from me. I'm going to tell you, and I love it because, again, I'm an American, okay? Those homes, they built the road right into my house. If you go down Grant Boulevard, my house is the one that all the lights shine on. Every night, I sit there and see the lights go in my house. And I didn't complain because that's their right. I have a a soccer team 2 doors down from me. I live in the woods. It was very quiet for 35 years when I lived there, and they built the soccer team. Now on my Sundays, I hear people yelling, screaming, whistling, and having a good time. Did I complain? I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear the sound of people having fun. I don't need my silence. I live by Helen's farm stand. She lives right behind me, the farm stand. You know what I get on Sunday? Boom, boom, boom. She has 5 cannons that go off. Did I complain? No, because that's her lot. I have a lot right next door to me. It's woods. You know why I bought that? Because I want it to be mine. I don't want to look at my neighbor. So I bought the lot next door. Okay? The problem I have with the people that in today's society, and a whole, it's not just us, it's America in general, where your kids can break into somebody's house, destroy their house. Does anybody have a right? And then sue the owner of the house? They're suing the owner of the house. Where are we coming? Who's on who? It just strikes me as so bizarre, because what this really boils down to is you're stealing my land and you're giving it to my neighbors. That's what you're doing. And my neighbors are wonderful people. I don't mean them any harm. But they bought next to commercial, but they didn't want to live next to commercial. They want it to be a dog park, and as one of my neighbors said, as long as I live here, nothing will be built on that land. Well, I guess he's right, because there's only 3 of us, and I don't know if any of them are here. Okay? Now you talk about Costco. Costco is the reason we should be here. That's the problem. They have 43 acres. Those people who bought a mile off the highway have every right. Those people got shafted. They live a mile off the highway and they're looking at the street. Okay? That's why we should be here. They have 43 acres. I don't even have 2 acres. Okay? And what you did is you aimed at Costco and you're shooting me. I've dedicated my whole life to this town. I was the president of the Lions Club. I was the vice chair of the IDA. I was forget, you want to know, but you know what? This is what I get in return. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm reprimanding, but this is what we have, and it's not only Riverhead. It's everywhere. So I mean, please don't take my land. And my neighbors, when they bought that lot, knew that it was 10 foot. So let's make it double. Let's raise it 100% and make it 20. No, let's make it 300%. Make it 30. No, make it 4 times as much. Make it 4. No, let's make it 5 times as much. You go from 10 to 50? I just don't get it. Again, I'm sorry. And each one has to be weighted on their own merit. I look at Martin's Drugs. Martin Drugs has 5 feet to the neighbor's fence. Just enough to get a door open. Do you really need a sound wall there? Maybe a guy goes out there and smokes a cigarette once a month. I don't know. But there's no trucks being down there. So when you say you just blanket it, let's put a sound wall. I don't think Martin Drugs needs a sound wall. Nobody's back there. Again, I appreciate your time, and I think the town board's doing a great job. I just like them to realize that this is America, and yes, I'm only 3. But right is right, and wrong is wrong, and numbers don't make wrong right and right wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dominique Mendez, Riverhead Neighborhood Preservation Coalition. When I think Jeff Murphy's had said before that a 10-foot buffer is archaic. We agree. I don't think this board is attempting to take any land. Just trying to get up to normal standards and create a situation where we do have more reasonable buffers. It preserves the quality of life, the rural character. It's better for everyone. Yeah, the businesses, some of the things that they were talking about, what was it, 15% or something, that's still going to exist. So I don't know that it's going to pose that much of a hardship or much of a change, but it'll make a huge difference to the residences that live by. And the truth is that when you buy a piece of property, you don't have an inalienable right to that zoning the day it existed, the day you bought it. I mean, some people could have bought property along Sound Avenue 50 years ago when it was zoned industrial. It doesn't mean they should have a right to that. You know, we all have a stake in how land is used. Not just the property owner, but the broader community. And what this town board is proposing doing will help the broader community. Is it later than it should have happened? Yes, much. But it's something, and it's moving in the right direction now. So I'd like to echo a lot of the sentiments of Sid from the Wading River Civic and from Bob DeLuca from the group for the East End. The RNPC also supports this. I did notice one thing in it. You talk about transitional yards and screenings shall be provided within non-residential districts in order to assure orderly compatible relationships along certain boundaries. Non-residential districts, so commercial districts. But there is one type of development that is very commercial-like, and it's some multifamily apartments. That isn't your typical single-family residence, and we faced that we had those issues in Wading River when we were talking about that. I really think that the buffer should be from multifamily or high-density residential and commercial. If you put apartment complexes, they could be multi-stories, tons of density. You should have increased buffer in those situations. Single family to single family, of course not. But I urge you to consider expanding it a little in that way for those very dense multifamily type developments. And I also was concerned the 3 lots that they talked about. It may only be 3 lots, but I guess if you're a neighbor to those 3 lots, it may make a difference to you, so that you might want to consider some easy and reasonable, quick solution to improve the buffers on those 3 lots, smaller lots, without making it excessively, hard on the property owner. Because if you live there, you wouldn't be like, so what? I'm one of those 3 lots. I don't count. Now, if you're a resident who's neighboring that, I think you should benefit from this new legislation also. And I think that's it. And I urge you to go forward with this legislation. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Jeff Murphy.
Do you want to just wait till the end and get all the other residents?
I think they were done, are they?
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter?
I'd like a minute more.
One more.
You want me to come up?
Okay. And we'll end with Jeff.
When I used to come up to the town board meetings and get worked up like I did today, it was about my zoning, and it always affected me whatever happened in town. There was no Riverhead Coalition, and I don't know their name. I don't know what they represent, and I don't know where they get their funding. But the lady is up here just saying basically that she doesn't want any commercial anywhere. So we're not going to make her happy, okay? And we're not going to make her society happy, no matter what we do. And she wants to remain rural. Well, it is rural. It was rural. And because we live in this town, I do, Augie does, we haven't sold. We have our property. We've kept it. We haven't built on it. We haven't bailed out and given it to the developers years ago. But we did pay our taxes to retain the right to do that someday. I don't intend to live here forever. I can't afford to live here forever. I have a 16-acre parcel in Ackerbold. I will sell it to the lady. She can build her house in the middle of it, and we'll both be happy, okay? All right? I'll come up with a price with her if she'd like to discuss it. But you know what? I have that property because I paid for that property. I paid for the taxes. And I'm not in the farm development, by the way. I'm paying residential taxes on it because I thought I would remain 1 acre. But I became 2 acres somehow, okay? I mean, all of this town, you can't sit around here. You can't change the zone every 2 years because somebody else decides that they don't like this and they don't like that, and we need this and we need that. Someone's going to have to stand firm and tell somebody they have a right to build, okay? And I'd like to say 6 more words. We are not Southampton. We are not South Holbrook. That's all I want to say.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this? Jeff, if you could come up. Where'd you go, Jeff? Yes.
Hi. You had said that there were 3 undersized parcels, and I know that there are several industrial C properties up and down Raynor Avenue. Were those taken into consideration that might currently have a residential use that could be converted to a commercial use?
I only took a look at the vacant, undeveloped. I know that there was one, if you bear with me.
Well, that's part of the problem that I had when we discussed this at work session, is that there are several properties in the town that have been rezoned to commercial, and the current uses are residential. So if those properties were to ever be developed, were we going to have them establish a buffer, or was it going to be a non-disturb buffer? These were things that were brought up at work session. So I don't know that the study should necessarily reflect properties that are currently vacant. I think that it should reflect properties that are zoned commercial, that are currently being utilized as residential, that have the potential for commercial development. And also, I think that we should be addressing these undersized parcels in a percentage basis, as I had discussed at work session, as far as the lot depth. So and also, it's interesting to hear from the outcome of the public hearing that some of the building setbacks are 50 feet and some of the building setbacks are 25 feet. So in a zone where a 25-foot rear yard may be required for a structure, are we requiring a 50-foot landscaped area? And if that's the case, then we are taking away 25 feet of developable space on those properties.
Okay, in answer to your first question, at the work session, it was requested, and I added the language in here. The original language was the buffer requirement would be only to residential districts, but there was a request from the board to add and uses. So and uses. So if there was an existing single-family house in an industrial zone where it was not subjected to this law before, it is now subjected to it, and that was the request of the town board. So that language was added in there at the request of the town board.
I'm just curious, based on your frequency analysis that you had done and determining that there were 3 undersized lots with potential commercial development, when there are significantly more, under my impression, of the properties that are zoned commercial within the town that are currently being used for residential.
Well, that was the question that I had, and my concern raised about adding the use portion of this law, that you do have single-family homes that are existing non-conforming uses in an industrial zone. You could have one single-family house that's been there for 100 years, now in an industrial district, and now that the adjacent property owner that is commercial or industrial wants to develop, they're now imposed upon the 50-foot buffer requirement because of that one single-family house, even though it's pre-existing non-conforming. So, one way to get around that is to just delete the use issue out of the language, out of the law. So that's.
I think that the board's intent is to protect residential properties from commercial development, and I just want to make sure that the analysis that you're doing is going to, when I hear that there's 3 lots that are undersized that can't necessarily accommodate a 50-foot buffer, I think that there are several more in the industrial C zoning district that are currently developed. That's my concern.
Okay, is that it? Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't.
All right, Jeff, thank you. We'll close the public comment portion, leave it open for written comment until October 11th at 4:30 p.m. in the town clerk's office. Now that's it, the last public hearing. We have, now we'll have comments on resolutions. I know that there's a few people from First Baptist Church. Reverend Coverdale, are you folks going to be commenting on resolutions? Okay, that's what we intend. All right, CDA. Chris, John, can you make the motion? Go into CDA. Oh, sorry, I should have said, are there any other, does anybody else wish to comment on resolutions? I apologize. Not seeing anybody, we'll move to the CDA.
I make the motion, we close the town board meeting and open the Community Development Agency meeting. So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio?
Yes.
Gabrielson?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Dunleavy?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
The CDA meeting is now open. CDA resolution number 14 authorizes the town board on behalf of the town of Riverhead and Community Development Agency to adopt a final scope for the draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement for reuse and revitalization plan for EPCAL, and authorizes the supervisor to execute all such documents required to effectuate the commencement and preparation of supplemental generic impact for purposes of study of potential environmental impacts.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio?
I just have a few questions, because this was not in the packet for discussion at work session on Thursday, and I just want to be clear on what we're doing here, because this says Town of Riverhead and Community to adopt a final scope for the draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement.
That's correct.
And there were several comments that were made at the public hearing that I don't know if those comments have been incorporated into this, or is this starting the public hearing process where we address
they
all
were
of those concerns, or?
They were incorporated into the draft scope, and this was done with VHB, the town attorney's office, and my office, and the comments that the ones that pertain to the scope were drafted, were put into the scope, and then there were a couple of comments that really weren't scope related, and they addressed those as not being something that you would study in the scope.
Okay, but,
And this adopts your final scope.
okay,
This
but
moves you to your environmental impact statement.
I understand that, but there was a draft scope that was in the packet for discussion at work session on Thursday that was attached to a different resolution that wasn't necessarily part of that draft scope, and we were told that we were going to be supplied a copy of the final draft scope, and I haven't seen it. So, has anybody else seen it?
Was attached to your resolution right here.
Okay, but I haven't had any time to review it, so I
On
think that we should be
Friday-
tabling this and discussing it as a board at work session until the next town board meeting. Because I don't think that it's fair to be given something on, without discussing it as a board at a work session.
I think it's out of order because now we have a motion, we're seconded, and we're into a vote. So this should have been brought up before
That's true.
motion was made and seconded, and we started the vote.
Okay, well then I'm gonna
So we
abstain.
have to vote on the resolution.
So, just to maybe,
Because I don't know if the motorized trail is included in the draft scope. Was that something that was left out or put in?
Where there's a motion, John's right, there's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded.
Well, then let's
we have to
discuss
vote.
it.
Well, you have to vote unless we withdraw the motion.
Unless we withdraw the motion.
I don't, there was opportunity for everybody to read this. I know it was a long read, and I know that the
Jim, have you
draft-
read it?
Actually, I did, I got it Friday. But,
George, have you?
I actually did glance through it. I didn't read all the
Actually,
details because we got it Friday
This one you
and it
have
was a
a question on.
weekend, so
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't see every, document. But just like a little overview here, because we want to make this thing long. I mean, is there a consensus on the board to table it? They want to still study it?
not
Everyone's
ta-
reading it
I'm
now.
not tabling
No, I'm
it.
just saying, is there a
This is
consensus, yes or no? No, I'm fine
Amazing
either
to
way.
me. This is.
Where are you
just
guys
amazing.
at?
I'm
Just-
ready to go.
Are you
Yeah,
ready?
I think we gotta move
Yeah.
it personally. But I just want to make sure we're all,
All right, moved
Since
and
it was
so-
time
moved
sensitive.
and seconded, let's vote, please.
Giglio.
I don't see anything in here having to do with the non-motorized recreational trail, and I know that that was a big issue that was brought up by several environmental groups and from several concerned citizens of the community, and I do not see it as part of this scope and something that should be studied in here, so at this time, I'm going to have to abstain.
Gabrielson.
yes.
Can I just say something? It
John,
says
you're
here, an inventory,
It's just-
of available, this is the walkable of the proposed development, including the discussion of internal and external pedestrian circulation will be evaluated, a discussion of potential bicycle use, and internal and external bicycle facilities will be included.
There it is. Can you move, George,
I,
you vote?
yes.
Diane?
Wooten.
What? Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes,
Resolution adopted.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, can I get, is that the final concludes the business of the CDA?
We have one more,
Oh, I'm
resolution,
sorry.
CDA resolution number 15, grants license to the FBI for bomb technician training at FCAL.
Okay, so moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Okay, these are not gonna be real bombs, so, I mean, we're not gonna have any bombs going off there.
Well,
This is
so
all
very-
simulated.
But there'll be
Oh,
some very small, there'll be
Very
some,
little charges,
there
little
will be
charges.
small explosives.
Yeah, well, I suppose,
Not
yes.
like the big ones, but they will be
That's- yeah.
smaller. Controlled,
Yeah.
very controlled.
Okay. Walter.
Yes.
Resolution is therefore duly adopted, and that completes the business of the CDA.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, we close the Community Development Agency meeting and reopen the town board meeting. So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The town board meeting is now reopened. We'll start with Resolution 679.
Recreation Fund Budget Adjustment, so moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 680.
Approves of leave of absence request. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 681.
Ratifies the reappointment of a temporary clerk to the tax receiver's office. So moved.
Second?
There is money in the budget for this to the end of the year part-time.
That's a good
Moved
thing.
and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 682.
This awards bid for the 2013 food and meat products.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 683.
Authorize town clerk to publish and post notice of public hearing to consider adoption of the 2014 preliminary annual budget to Town of Riverhead. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 684.
Authorizes amendment to engineering services agreement regarding New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 685.
Adopts a local law to amend Chapter 108 entitled Zoning of the Code of the Town of Riverhead. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Tara, can you make a note? I want to send a letter to the members of the
Yeah, I have it.
board.
Resolution 686.
686 adopts a local law to amend Chapter 108 entitled Zoning of the Code of the Town of Riverhead. So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 687.
Abolish the Accessory Apartment Review Board. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
I tell you, it was great legislation when it happened, but it never really happened, never took off in Riverhead. It's a shame. Yes.
Dunleavy.
I just want to thank all the members. They put in a lot of time and a lot of effort on this accessory apartment review board. And again, I don't think it was worked properly. I don't think the code was worded properly. That's why it never really took off in the town of Riverhead. But I have to vote yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 688.
Adopts the local law to amend Chapter 101 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Riverhead Town Code. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 689.
Accepts the performance security of Kaywood Properties LTD, subdivision entitled Christie Rose Court. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 690.
690 approves the building department's nunc-pro-tunc renewal extension of the Town of Riverhead Fire District building permit. So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
This wasn't in the packet on Thursday either, was it?
To everybody. The rule is in the town that as long as we get, and the board agreed to this, as long as everybody gets notification by Friday 4:30, it goes in the packet.
Have they paid building permit fees in the past? They have, Bob?
I believe they did pay a $40,000.
So we're waiving the fees now.
What we're looking to do is allow them to have an extension. There was, as indicated in the resolution, they sought to amend it prior to the expiration of the building permit. There were inspections done, and if the inspections and the permit had been issued in a timely manner after their request, they would have been able to have received the CO, and due to some mix-up, that wasn't done. So what we're looking to do is allow them to extend based upon the circumstances. And it's another taxable entity. By charging another fee, you're only taxing the taxpayer, who's going to end up paying the fee through the fire district. So that was another thought here as well.
They're both taxpayers, they're taxpayers.
There was a great deal of communication that was going on and towards the end of 2012 with respect to the work that was being done on the firehouse. There was a forensic architect brought in to determine what was wrong. They filed a building permit. They had paid fees. They were looking to do work on a roof.
That was an existing roof that they had.
Correct. They were looking to do work on a roof, and there was a fire door that needed to be installed. They determined that they would hold off the work on the roof and instead just complete the work on the fire door. And again, that's what they're looking to get CO'd at this point. They're going to have to come back at a later time to still do the work to correct the roof work.
Okay,
Okay, Giglio,
yes.
Gabrielson,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 691,
Authorize the supervisor to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Suffolk for the dredging of waterways within the town of Riverhead. So moved.
And seconded,
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
It's a shame we have to identify the Suffolk County to get our waterways dredged. but,
And pay them now.
And then pay them too, so overtime, so we have to pay overtime. So, to get the waterways, I gotta vote yes for it.
Walter,
Agreed, yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 692,
You wanna pay it?
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with ABL Computing, Inc.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
I have requested information on this from the accounting department, which I still don't have, so I will abstain.
Gabrielson,
Yes.
Yes.
Wooten, Dunleavy,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 693,
Authorize settlement of legal action by Scott Burgess and Erica Burgess against the town of Riverhead. So
there you
moved.
go.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
You know which one it is, right?
It's the motorcycle.
Oh, yes.
Dunleavy,
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 694,
Authorizes the supervisor to accept a drainage easement from owner of real property designated as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-128-2-6, Patrick Richmond. So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 695,
Authorize supervisor to execute a real property access agreement with Suffolk County regarding storm water drainage system remediation on real property designated as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-128-2-72. So moved.
And seconded,
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 696,
Approves Chapter 90 application of Darkside Productions, Inc., Haunted House Walkthrough, October 4th, 2013 through November 3rd, 2013. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 697,
Authorize the execution of an agreement with the County of Suffolk for dredging of Meeting House Creek. So moved.
And second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 698,
It extends the bid contract for annual heating, ventilating, and air conditioning maintenance contract. So
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 699,
Ratifies approval for use of Pine Barrens credits originated from property located in Riverhead and issuance of letter to the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. So moved.
And seconded,
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
resolution adopted. Resolution 700,
Authorizes the release of site plan security of Lowe's Home Center. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 701.
Approves Chapter 90 application of Riverhead Adventures LLC 5K Trail Run Sunday, June 1st, 2014, and Sunday, September 14th, 2014. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
I'd just like to say this is out at EPCAL, and they ran a great program when they had it before, and they donated $4,000 to the town.
Yes.
1,000 PEL and 3,000
We
go
need
back
to take
into the
that
park.
as revenue now.
No, it's going back into the park, 1,000 PEL.
Okay, into the park,
And
that's
anyway,
fine.
that's it.
We'll
Right.
take it.
They're back. Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes, and maybe we can put that towards lights or something.
Water.
Water would
Yes,
be
we're
good.
working on it. We got a couple more actually coming up that they could probably donate to us.
Good.
Besides them.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 702.
Approves the Chapter 90 application of Strong Island Kids Mountain Bike Race, March 29th, 2014. So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 703.
Authorize notice to bidders for installation of water mains and appurtenances to Stoney Woods Phase 3, and that's Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 704.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice for public hearing regarding community development block grant, CDBG 2014 funds. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 705.
Authorize supervisor to sign an amendment to extend contract with New York State Affordable Housing Corporation for $200,000 to support the town of Riverhead Home Improvement Program. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 706.
Authorizes the deputy supervisor to execute stipulation of settlement in connection with the matter entitled Boom Development Corporation versus the Town of Riverhead et al., index number 04-291192. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
What was the right one? Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
I abstain, Mr. Brody was the client.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 707.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish and post public notice to consider a local law to amend Chapter 108 entitled Zoning of the Riverhead Town Code, and that's for the Community Benefit Zoning Use District, CBD. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes for the public hearing.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 708.
Pays the bills.
And seconded.
You know, if we were like the federal government, maybe we wouldn't have to pay them.
That's it.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
I
Gabrielson.
don't know.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
First milestone complete. Does anybody wish to address the town board? Pastor Coverdale.
On behalf of the Riverhead residents, particularly the children and senior citizens who may need this opportunity to stand before the board and say, thank you for allowing us to move to the next level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Pastor, we wish you the best of luck. Take care, everybody. Does anybody else wish to be heard tonight?
Okay, back there.
Yes?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, there's
And
something
this
else.
right here.
Okay, hold on one second.
Wait till everybody clears the room.
Oh, you can stay up there.
Yeah.
No, you can.
Patricia Holland, Northville. This is not a big thing. I can't see that clock. I don't think anybody else who sits in the back
Yeah.
can see the clock. It's not a big deal. But the old clock was very visible. This one is not.
Okay, thank
Yeah, I
you.
agree. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Does anybody else wish to be heard tonight?
We need a cuckoo clock.
How you doing,
is
sir?
what we need.
My name is Frank Kelly. I live at 38 Golden Spruce Drive in Calverton. I'd like to talk to the board about the possibility of building a bocce court complex similar to one that they have in Southampton. I live in Crest East in over 55 community on Middle Road in Calverton. We have a bocce court, as do most of the over 55 communities in Riverhead. Last year, we formed a 6-member team, and we joined the Southampton Bocce League. The league is a 24-team league. They play all their games in the North Haven complex in Southampton. We did manage to finish second in our rookie season last year. This year, we came in first and won the league championship. Incidentally, we are the only team who are not residents of Southampton. After winning the championship game on September 15th, we were congratulated by Southampton Supervisor Anna Holst, who mentioned that she would rather not be giving the award to out-of-towners. The award was, we each got a bottle of wine from the league.
I'm sure they were happy about that.
She wasn't very happy about it. I said, take it up with Sean Walters the next time you race him in the river.
Did you ask her where my trophy is? I still haven't gotten the trophy.
So Riverhead has baseball fields, and soccer fields, a skateboard park, bike paths, pickleball, and tennis courts, as well as a hockey rink. Bocce is an equal opportunity sport where young and old, male and female, big or small, all play on equal basis. It can be a lot of fun for everyone, and it is. In the 6 years since they began, the Southampton Bocce League has donated over $5,500 to charities in the Southampton town. I think Riverhead could do at least as good as Southampton and bring a nice bocce court facility to the EPCAL Sports Park. And I thank you very much for your time.
Yes, I will address Ray Coyne and the Recreation Advisory Committee on that, and I was thinking EPCAL, obviously for this location, so we'll see if we can move that forward.
And now that we have a
Thanks for that,
championship team right here in
right,
Riverhead, so it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Photos of the court in case you've never seen it. It's quite a facility.
The next time you beat the Southampton people, just send them my love.
Can you get his phone number? Jill will give you the phone number and she'll give it to me. I can get back to you on that.
Maybe we could use that
We have,
$4,000.
in my community, we have 60 members who play bocce every Tuesday.
But they're not
Yes.
champions. You're the champion.
I'm afraid to play with them. These guys know what they're doing. All right, does anybody else wish to be heard this afternoon?
Send them back. No, hang on to them.
Not seeing anybody? Moved and seconded.
I make a
Can I get
motion, we
to
close
adjourn?
the town board meeting, so moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
John, you want to send them